Hey guys, iOS 11 Beta 3 has been released today. It's been a long wait, but let's go ahead and dive in and check out over 100 new features and changes Apple has added to this firmware. And I'm sure that's not even all of it, but there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. Let's get right into it. All right, so first things first, let's start with the lock screen or cover sheet. Apple has reimagined it so you no longer have to swipe up to access recent or older notifications. Now they're displayed on a one-page layout, so when you swipe back up, you'll be back in your stuff just like that. When playing music on the lock screen, you can actually click on this airdrop icon and your iPhone has been renamed to speaker. Now when you go ahead and click on the album art, it will take you to the music application where previously it didn't. Now in the control center on iOS 11 Beta 3, when activating airplane mode, it will not kill Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Previously on Beta 2, it did kill Bluetooth for me and it no longer does this on Beta 3. And from the official changelog from Apple, when you tap on the Wi-Fi icon inside of Control Center, not only does it disconnect, it temporarily disables Wi-Fi as well, so it should be turning it off. I haven't seen this behavior yet, but apparently it's there. And also from the changelog, when transitioning between Wi-Fi networks, the name is going to be reflected here. When airplane mode is enabled and you tap the Bluetooth icon, it no longer flashes before turning off. It just simply turns off. In the control center, when you tap on the now playing icon, it will now take you to the music application. 3D touch on the brightness slider and you'll see that the night shift icon has been updated, a little bit more darker, but when activated, same. 3D touch on this platter here, and you'll notice that it is wider, taller, and more spread apart. Also, the personal hotspot icon, when not activated, is now more colored in. If you want to go ahead and activate AirDrop, you'll notice there is a new interface. Instead of this one on the bottom, a lot cleaner and ties in well with the control center. 3D touch on the screen mirroring one, you'll see it's a little bit more subtle, not so in your face with the lines. And low power mode toggle now glows yellow when activated, and same goes for the flashlight icon. It will glow blue now instead of the previous yellow. Now, cool thing about this is if you 3D touch on this icon, you can actually, without removing your finger, start sliding up and down where previously you couldn't. When you have a timer set in the control center, it now glows blue, a little bit more distinctive, and same thing as the icon, you can actually slide without removing your finger here. But also the lowest setting, as you'll notice, no longer has that gray bar. It's shaded in white and same setting. In the actual control center settings, you'll see the new colors for the toggles reflected here. So for flashlight and the low power mode. The calculator 3D touch platter has a slightly tweaked interface here with a new logo right there. The camera icon platter as well, as you can see, slightly reworked here with new logos on the left. And same applies for a lot of areas. So jumping into the wallet interface here, you'll notice it is slightly different as well. There's a new notes interface as well with new icons. For the text size toggle, 3D touch on it, and on the bottom you'll notice that the font is a little bit bolder, and if you actually go all the way down, you cannot go all the way down to nothing anymore as you could in Beta 2. And the screen record 3D touch toggle, as you can see, the microphone audio interface is a little bit cleaner, closer to the rest of it. And if you go ahead and start broadcasting, by the way, notice that the name has changed there. If you go back to anything else, the bar up top is a lot slimmer, so it doesn't take up so much, but at the same time, the amount of seconds has been removed. And when you are screen recording, you'll notice that the icon now glows a little bit bolder, where before it was shaded in, it was really hard to see. The Apple TV icon can now be clicked to be opened instead of 3D touched, but inside you'll see a slightly smaller interface, a little bit different, and you can no longer do this. The Choose an Apple TV has been combined in the middle here, so there's no other setting for it. The app switcher bug, where if you would close apps and it would freeze and not close anymore halfway through, has been fixed. And not only that, the background is less blurry now. So you'll notice you can see more going on over here on iOS 11, where over here it's a little bit more muddled. In Spotlight search suggestions, you'll notice that Siri app suggestions have been dropped lower, and instead you have immediate search suggestions here. Echo, as you can see, is back to blue, but the borders have this weird black going on. Not sure what that is. When dragging apps on the home screen, there is a new responsiveness. So instead of being so bouncy and far behind your finger, now on iOS 11 Beta 3, it's right next to your finger the entire time. Really fluid to move apps now. And dropping an icon where it doesn't belong no longer will result in that app showing up before it drops back there. Now it's back to normal. 3D touch on the compass, and now on Beta 3, start has been removed from the labeling. 3D touch on the maps icon, and now in Beta 3 you get a new icon when the destinations haven't been enabled. What I'm sad to see go, Apple removed the clickety-clack when disabling options in settings. That is no longer there in Beta 3. I do have this bug, however, now in iOS 11 Beta 3 that the scrolling is much louder now. Once again, search results in settings have been simplified. You no longer get all of these diverse search settings for the same word here. It's a little bit simpler. Apple added new regulatory graphics here in the About settings for Mexico. You'll notice the capacity of iOS 11 Beta 3 has shrunk by about 0.14 of a gigabyte, so you now have less storage. The home button setup page, as you can see, the interface has become a little bit bolder. When on the same Siri settings, Siri has a new gentler voice in Beta 3. Hey Siri, what's up?
I'm reading the dictionary. Don't tell me how it ends. Just recycling my max aluminum, steel, copper, gold, and silver.
In these Siri settings, a lot of cleanup here. As you'll notice, it's not so strung apart now, all in one clean section here. In Do Not Disturb mode settings, you'll notice Apple added a new link here to learn more about Do Not Disturb while driving. In emergency settings, you'll notice Apple did slightly update the description here. In the note settings, you now have more control over what happens to your note on the lock screen and control center. You can actually choose which note gets displayed, whether it's a new note or last viewed note. Also, you can require a passcode now for your notes on the control center or lock screen. In the experimental features side of Safari, you now have new features. So I can't explain what these are, but there are a couple new toggles. In the camera settings, jump into preserve settings, and photo filter has been renamed to just filter. In my iCloud settings, I noticed there is a new toggle for a third-party application, Uber. You can now sync Uber data over iCloud. There is also a new toggle for messages, so you can now sync iMessages over iCloud. And if you want to check out the storage, jump into manage storage, and it's been renamed to iCloud storage, so no longer managed storage. This whole page has been eliminated. Essentially, it's this click right here which brings you to the same page, eliminating an extra click. The iCloud storage section over here gets a little bit more distinct, so it gets its own section, and on the bottom you no longer get this bar here. So jumping into a separate area, you'll notice that the top bar no longer sticks with you. It's a little bit cleaner. And again, this little bar here is no longer shown. In the accessibility settings, if you have reduced transparency enabled, now in iOS 11 Beta 3, the control center no longer shows through. So a little bit less transparency there, but the app switcher, on the other hand, now shows through where before it didn't. In the assistive touch menu, the standard orientation swapped, Siri replaced by gestures. A really cool one. If you have smart invert enabled, that dark mode in iOS 11, now it will no longer reverse album artwork in the music application, so it's slowly getting smarter. In TV provider, there are several new TV providers over here, and several now support sign-in without the single sign-on feature. In the iTunes and App Store settings, there's a new tab for autoplay videos. You can disable this feature, so when you jump into the description of an application, the video will no longer start playing. In Maps, airports or malls that now support the floor plan mapping feature now will show up gray when you zoom into their area. So just like that, you'll notice you can activate that menu now. And now it's all in black instead of blue, so a little bit more distinctive. In a seemingly deliberate choice by Apple, the News app widget has been removed, and you can no longer access it by 3D touching on the app. It's just not there. Now in its place, the For You tab has been slightly rearranged. When I jumped into the News app on iOS 11 Beta 3, I got this splash screen here for Siri suggestions. Never have seen that before. Jumping into the following section, you'll notice that you can now like and dislike certain subjects, where previously it was only just the little like or love icon. And in the search tab, you'll notice the search bar over here is a little bit slimmer than it was before. When sharing a photo in the share settings, you have a new toggle to add to album, which is nice. The weather app now features bolder icons for the weather. In the Files app, if you want to add a new location, OS X server is now an option, and third-party support for Dropbox has been enabled. And when going to edit, now in iOS 11 Beta 3, the bottom bar for recents doesn't disappear, so if you wanted to do some drag and dropping, that remains. And when in edit mode in the Files app and you want to rearrange, you can no longer get to this area right here when you drag and drop them. It's just a stiff up and down. In the Files app, on the Recents side, you'll notice the No Recents text is bolder now. The 3D Touch preview window in Files has been updated. You no longer get bars on the top and bottom, and when 3D touching to preview a screenshot, it's not zoomed in like it is on Beta 2. The artwork when moving around for drag and drop inside of here has been improved. So instead of having white borders now, it's perfectly cut out so cleaner artwork. Mystery files that would previously show a question mark now show the Files app icon. Some improvements in health. The bottom bar, as you can see, is much bolder now, so it's shaded in, and the graphs have been updated, so slightly cleaner looking. Health officially syncs over iCloud now, so if you reset your watch and repair it, all of your health data will save as well. Now, a few changes in the Notes application. On a blank note, if you go ahead and click the Share button, you get the option to change the background of the paper. Now it's been renamed from Change Paper to Lines and Grids, but the very same setting. And notice the bar right on top of your keyboard, the orientation has been swapped around. And if I go to use the drawing interface here, notice how it was a bar before, but now it's more transparent. Couple changes to the way pinned notes are presented. So first off, it's no longer shown by default pinned notes. You have to pull down to reveal the pinned notes little icon, and now it's just called pinned instead of pinned notes. Also, this one is a little hard to notice, but the search bar is not so texturized. It's not as dark. It looks a little bit cleaner now. In Siri, if you click on the little question mark over here, a lot of the icons that had no icons were blank now display the correct icons where they should. Also, scroll to the very bottom and you'll see a new suggestion here for Facebook, where before there wasn't one. When dialing phone numbers in the dialer app, you'll notice they don't hang so far above. Now they're centered. In Messages, let's jump into the More settings here, and you can now search through your iMessage apps. Not only that, there is a separate Favorites section, and you can actually reorganize these as well. So previously, if you clicked Edit, you can only turn them on and off. Now you can move them around up here. And if I jump into the App Store in iMessage, you'll notice the splash screen isn't higher up. It's a little bit lower down and a little bit bolder. And if I jump in to use it, you can see it sits up a little bit higher, so you can see a little bit more on your display. Oh, and there is this new splash screen when opening up Notes that I have never seen before, so a very colorful introduction to Notes. In Apple Music, I got this little suggestion here, pop-up saying start sharing with your friends, promoting the new share feature. And once again, Apple has made the text smaller in the music application. They used a thinner font, and this is reflected everywhere, so you'll notice slightly smaller and thinner text. And Apple has made an under-the-cover change to Safari, so this is in regards to sign-in. So if you're signed in on the Facebook application, let's say on your device, it will also transfer to the web version in Safari, so that way you don't have to waste time signing in when you're already signed in on your device in the app. On iPad, Apple has done away with the little X to close the apps in the app switcher. Now it's just a quick swipe up and pretty fast, I must say. In accessibility, there is a new icon for multitasking on the iPad. And when using the Mail application on the iPad Pro 12.9-inch, it will remember if you actually leave it in the 3-column orientation now. And lastly, the Geekbench. So on this beta, I got this score, 3442 and 5778. On the last one, a higher one. So the Geekbench score is getting worse. Honestly, I've experienced a ton of crashing and bugs and issues I haven't in the last one, so not too sure about the stability of this beta. So thanks for watching, guys. That's iOS 11 Beta 3 and over 100 new features. Can't wait for the next one. Peace.